Here at Swiss Watch Expo, we get asked a lot, what's the very best value in the store? It might well be the Breitling Colt, and I'm going to tell you why. Fresh from the showcase here at Swiss Watch Expo, we get asked a lot, what's the very best value in the store? And I'll tell you, it might very well be the Breitling Colt. I love this watch, and it's not hard to understand why once you look at the ins and outs, which we're going to do right now. So, of course, you know Breitling came out in 1884. They've always been involved in watches that have to do with adventure, land, sea, and air. They've been really focused on pilot watches, military watches, all sorts of really rugged, really testosterone-driven kind of watches. The company was sold finally in 1979, outside of it being a private company. And in the 80s, they came out with this watch, the Colt. So when the Colt originally came out, it was a smash hit. It became part of the new, sort of the face of Breitling, because it was a very practical watch. It had a big dial, so it was easy to read in low light conditions. It was very rugged. The dial looked very military in its design. The bezel had these 4 riders, so the idea was that in wearing gloves or in a difficult situation, you'd still be able to manipulate the bezel. It was a great look and a huge hit. The company went a little bit wayward after it was sold a couple of times, and they had after this watch came out in the 1980s, they did a redesign in 2011. And they got rid of the 4 riders on the bezel. It was quartz only. There were no more automatics. I mean, it seemed like they kind of lost their way. I guess the fans spoke because it only lasted about 3 years of it being kind of the non-Colt Colt. And in 2014, they came out with a redesign. And these are really the ones that we focus on here at Swiss Watch Expo. Starting with this model, which made its debut in 2014. This is the A74388. What's interesting about this watch is that it is driven by a super quartz movement, Breitling calls it. It's a modified ETA quartz movement that has a thermocompensating feature to it. In other words, it changes the timing based on the temperature of the watch so that it stays accurate. And they say that it's 10 times more accurate than other quartz watches. It's accurate to about 10 seconds a year, which is shocking. The design of it is really great. You can see it has the 1269 in Arabic that has loom-filled applied indices for the other hours. It's drenched in superluminova. You're going to see it great in low light conditions. But the other features of the dial and design are really interesting. It has a guilloche feature to the dial where it's kind of snailed around in concentric circles all around the dial. The indications on it are not limited to just the 6, 9, 12. Just inside of each of the indices, it has the, quote, military time, a 24-hour scale. And surprisingly, I don't think I've ever noticed this on any other watch. Around the edge of the chapter ring, it has what they call engineer time, or it's some sort of, it actually divides the hours into 100ths instead of the quarters or 60ths that we normally see. So if you wanted to keep track of hours in decimal, so you wanted, instead of a quarter hour being 0.15, it would be 0.25. That's what that chapter ring is for. Really interesting. I'm sure I would have used it at the time back when I was doing payroll and I was calculating people's time manually and converting hours to hundredths instead of 60ths. But I'm not sure what you'd use it for now, but it is a really interesting feature. Of course, you've also got the turning bezel. It's a 120 click bezel, so you can really get it very exact. The bezels on all of these are interesting because the indicators, the minutes, are engraved in the bezel. There's no paint or enamel to ever wear off. There's no painted aluminum insert like you see on a lot of other bezels. It's really just a lot more rugged. The other thing is that when you look at the edge of the bezel, there are screws. And those screws aren't just decorative, they actually hold the bezel on. So instead of this bezel just popping off, like you see from Omega and Cartier and Rolex, Actually, the watchmaker has to use a tool and remove the screws to get that bezel to come off. So it's really durable. It's not going to just fall off on you like some can. Of course, it's got the crown guards and a screw down crown. The bracelet on this one is called the Professional 3, and you can see it has the Breitling sort of slash angled feature between each link, but it's all brushed, where a lot of the Breitling bracelets are all high polished. This one's a lot more rugged. It sends you the signal right away that this is a watch for everyday use. And it has sort of these 3 different thicknesses like you see on the Rolex Oyster bracelet, where the center is wider. Though it's a great look. Again, the Breitling name and winged logo are engraved in the clasp, so there's no paint or anything to ever wear off. It does have the double closure here so that it's really durable. It's not going to come off when you don't mean it to. Single deployant with the Breitling name there. So the Super Quartz, always a great choice. And if you like the idea of being able to just set it and forget it, that might be the one for you. Also in 2014, they came out with the A17388, which is called the Colt Automatic. That's these two here. And you can see we have 2 different dials shown. It came on the bracelet or on a rubber strap. You can get all kinds of different straps for these. These are, by the way, 22 millimeters between the lugs, so it's a good, robust feeling bracelet. It's not real skinny, and I mean, it just fits right with the military, macho, masculine feel of these watches. These tick on the B17 movement, which is an ETA automatic. These are all chronometer certified, by the way. Every Breitling watch is a certified chronometer, even the Super Quartz, but also these automatics that are converted ETA movements. These come in a 41 and 44 millimeter size. They're 11.25 millimeters thick, so they're not real thick for considering how big around they are. You can get different dial colors. It's a very similar dial configuration to the Quartz one, so we don't really need to talk about that. I do like the way it says Colt in red and then has the tip of the second hand in red as well. But the one I want to move to came out the next year in 2015. These 4. This is the Colt Automatic Chronograph. This is the A13388, and these were significant. They were the first automatic chronograph you could get in a Colt in 15 years. It is, you can see from the configuration, it's based on a Valjoux 7750. It's an ETA version of it. They are chronometers. They're a little bit thicker. You can see the case back gives it some extra thickness for that movement. They're 14.8 millimeters as opposed to the 11.25 in the others. But they have the sort of a sideways panda configuration. The color names, it's kind of funny. They went all out like the car companies, naming their colors things that evoke that sense of emotion you get with the adventure of the watch. They're Volcano Black, Mariner Blue, or Stratus Silver. I love the names. These are interesting because not too often do you see a chronograph with a turning bezel. So the chronograph will count to 30 minutes, the bezel will count to 60. So you really could use them together. You could time 2 different things at the same time if you wanted, but what a great value. The 7750 is a bulletproof movement, one of the greatest watch movements ever made. The case, the casing, the design of the screwed-on bezel, the heavy-duty bracelet, the heavy-duty clasp. These are really kind of the total package. There's nothing that any of your watch guru friends would look down on one of these watches because it has everything that you're looking for in a great watch, but not the huge price tag. So if you're looking for one of the very best values at SwissWatchExpo, I love the A13388. You can type that into the search bar where it says search 2,000 plus watches on our website, or you can just type in Colt and all of these will come up and you'll be able to see all the different dial colors, the quartz movements, the automatics, and the chronograph versions. Click like and subscribe, click the bell. Let us know what you think of the Breitling Colt and which one's your favorite in the comments. And give us a call, see what we've got in stock today at SwissWatchExpo.